In this lesson, we're going to look at switch. And switch gives us the ability to kind of save us some time from having a bunch of conditional statements where we're looking for possible conditions that could be met. So the way that switch works is first we set up switch as the method, and then we're going to be passing over an argument. So this is whatever value we want to pass over. So in this case, we want to take the value of A, which is the value that's within this field, and we want to pass this over into the switch. And we just simply type in the value that we want it to use. So now we're going to look for and see if that value meets our conditions. So for the first case, maybe if we have a case of 0, so essentially if A is equal to 0, then we can run off some functionality. So what I want to do still here is I want to set up another variable, so my container, and this is just going to be a blank one for now, and I'm going to use this to hold some contents whenever we meet some of these conditions. So now set up my container and give it a value of 0. So if that value is 0, then we write out in the my container 0, and then at the end of all of this switch statement, I'm going to update the output, the inner, let's try inner text this time. So the inner text of that output statement, and I'm just going to set it to equal the my container string. So let's go back out in our code and refresh it. So whenever we click button 1, we don't get anything output unless it's a 0, and then we're matching that case and we're outputting it as 0. So ideally we want to have, the reason that we would be using a switch is because we would have more than one active case. So we need to place breaks between them. So we just simply put break, and now we can start a new line, and I can do case. And so let's say if this is equal to 2, what do we want to happen? Well, I want my container to get a brand new value, and maybe I'll just type in 2. And then of course we need the break there. And let's just do another case. So we'll do case, and let's say if it equals 7, then I'm going to set my container to equal 7. And then of course break, because if we don't break it, then it's just going to continue through. So make it a little bit more readable. And then also with switch statements, we have the option just to do a default. So if none of the cases are met, then I'm going to set my container to equal nothing here. And I do need to add in those lines and just beautify it again so it's more readable. So let's check out what happens when we refresh it. So with 6, we click the button, we get nothing here. With 7, condition is met, it is equal to 7, so we return back that 7. With 2, condition is met, it equals to 2, and we get that output. So there is a difference between strings and numbers. So we would be looking at if it was a numeric 2. I'll show you how this is going to work out. So if I change that to 2, we get nothing here. And remember again that we're picking up the value and we're using it as a string. So if we want to switch this back, we'd have to do that parse of the integer. So parse integer, changing that value to an integer and refreshing it, setting it to a 2, and clicking it, and that would allow us to match that case. But then of course these ones now, they're strings, so they're not matching that case. So be careful when you're using strings and integers. There is a difference when we're picking it up within the case to see if we've got a match there within that condition. And that's how you work with different switches within JavaScript.